This is Football Primetime, brought to you today by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Mr. Sam Wu. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. I'm your host, Bill Dean. Of course, here with AJ Dean, my co-host. Brett is off gallivanting in Los Angeles, where he's going to watch his team lose to LA, right? Pittsburgh just going to get smoked. So good job, Brett, on spending hard-earned money to watch your team lose. Not like us Jets fans who get wins, and I don't know.
I mean, luckily he's in Denver, but who flies just to go see their team get obliterated?
I mean, I'm not spending that hard-earned money to go watch my team lose a away game. So, yeah, but that's what our co-host does. He does crazy things and makes crazy trades and is just all over the marketplace. But AJ, week 5 in the books. Wait, week 6 in the books.
Week 6 in the books.
Week 6 in the books. And we are coming up. I mean, first of all, it's a third of the season's already gone, which is craziness. You start to look at the football landscape, right? You know, American, AFC, NFC, and you're starting to see the teams that are pulling away from each other. Obviously, AFC West, Kansas City 5-1. The next closest, the Vegas Raiders 3-3. I mean, we're going to assume that this is their division. It's a pretty logical assumption. LA Chargers 2-3. Hurting a little bit, but they. I still think they're a playoff team, a team that could contend for a wild card come around later. Jacksonville Jaguars 4-2. We're watching them today versus
Saints.
New Orleans Saints. Yes, thank you. It sounds like Trevor Lawrence is going to play. They said he's going to play. Mm-hmm. And I like their chances of pulling out of this division, even with the Colts at 3-3, Texans 3-3. I still think they're the best team in this league, in this division. Yeah. But
agreed.
Why don't you go a little bit into the AFC North and the AFC East and give, let me know what you think on these two divisions.
Yeah, we'll start with the AFC North, right? I think it's kind of shaping out how we thought it was gonna, preseason, right, or that first week where, all these teams are right there. Baltimore's leading at 4-2 right now, but then all the other teams, right, have 3 wins. I'm a little surprised that Cincy right now technically is at the bottom of that division.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have played well at all. Burrow has not looked like himself.
No.
It's a little surprising, definitely, to see them like that. I definitely thought it would be, they're only a win down, right? But I'm not feeling confident in them at the moment.
Yeah. I am definitely worried.
All these teams, I feel like, haven't played the greatest football. It's been very Big Ten-esque, as I will say, of just defense first and a lot of just football. But it's probably gonna keep playing out that way, where this whole division is gonna be close like that. So it makes it a little bit more exciting, that any team can win it. But
yeah.
I definitely thought
big win for Cleveland.
Yeah,
big win for Cleveland.
Especially with not having Watson, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be a close division all the way until the end, I think. With the AFC East, that's another one, right? We thought New England would be in the bottom of the barrel here, and 1-5, they're looking terrible, and it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 teams that we thought would vie. Dolphins, I think, look unstoppable. It's going to be really interesting and fun to watch them play the Jets and that defense, especially the way the Jets played against the Eagles this past weekend. This division, I think, is still in the air. I think if the Dolphins offense can continue to play what they've played, they're going to be tough to beat. And that defense is going to have to step up against, good offenses. The Bills, I'm a little less confident in. I think they're out of sync too. It's, something's up with them. It was funny watching that. I don't know if you watched after the Bills Giants game where Dayball and McDermott right at the end, had a quick handshake, like just brush each other off, and then Dayball, goes right to Allen and embraces him, and chats with him, and then apparently he left with him too. They left kind of together. I don't know if that was accurate or not, but interesting to see. I mean, I'm sure it's really nothing, but I do think the Bills are in trouble, and I think the Jets, the way that they came into their bye week, they have a good chance of, if that defense can keep playing like they are, anything's possible for this team as long as Zach Wilson doesn't commit turnovers, which I think he's done a better job of the past 2-3 weeks of doing. So it's gonna be interesting how this AFC East 2 kind of lines up with these three teams kind of vying for first in that division.
Yeah. The Miami Dolphins are a plus 67 point differential, where they're at 223. The next closest in terms of points is the San Francisco 49ers that have 184. They're about 40 points behind, but 49ers have a 97 point differential between scored and defended. They are, and I know they lost last week. It was a good defense. Cleveland Browns are legit top 2, even maybe the best defense in this league right now. And if you look at the rest of that division, back to the AFC East, Miami can score, but they're getting scored on. Their points allowed is one of the highest in the league. Buffalo is that next team, and they're ruthless. They're killers, and they have a little bit of issues sometimes, kind of getting up for some games. I feel like, but I still that quarterback scares me. That's the offense in general scares me. And then the Jets. I mean, they do have a negative point differential, but that defense just continues to play. And I know Saleh said he ran through the gauntlet of quarterbacks, and they do. They keep him in games, and the offense just. And I'm going to continue to harp on it. I don't think he's their quarterback. Zach Wilson. And I really wish they would find somebody. And I know that you had Kirk Cousins last week say that he wasn't going to, lift his no trade clause or, try to look for something. But I mean, I'd go to that guy's front door and be like, listen, we could win a Super Bowl together. So I do like that team. And then obviously the Ravens are first in the division with Steelers and the Browns kind of sitting behind them. But that division's just all up in the air, right? One game separates the three teams. So definitely something that when you look at it, AFC North is always a tough one. And you can always you're not going to be able to throw a pin and that's who will win the division.
Yeah.
You go into the NFC. Eagles 5-1, Dallas Cowboys 4-2. I think Cowboys are still frauds. Washington kind of looks like meh, and then Giants, of course. NFC North, the first place Detroit Lions, and I think they're the second best team in the NFC. I really do. I think they're better than Philly, and I think they're right behind San Fran.
Yep, I would agree. That offense is
it's awesome.
Electric. It's almost as electric as the Dolphins' offense. I still think the Dolphins have the best offense in the league.
Yeah, I mean, but you're hoping, right, that Jameson Williams becomes something of Waddle or Tyreek Hill. Yep. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown's awesome, but their running backs, they continually run out other guys. Montgomery obviously gets hurt. They're going to bring in Craig Reynolds, who had the block of the week last week. It was that thing was awesome.
That was fantastic.
Jahmyr Gibbs is going to come back, and he's electric with the ball in his hands. You give him 20 touches, and he's he's just awesome. And then obviously Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback. He's playing lights out right now. This might be, I was thinking about, is this the best team that Jared Goff's been on? Considering he went to a Super Bowl with the Rams, it might be the best team he's been on. The defense is awesome. The defense is good, really good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Obviously,
too, right?
Yeah, he had Cooper Kupp. Yeah. He had Aaron Donald, right? So I mean, two guys that are lethal.
He had Woods too, which Woods was really good at those years.
Woods was good. Yeah.
Gurley.
But this team, Amon-Ra St. Brown, very good wide receiver. Reynolds, Williams, good receivers. He has a better tight end. Sam Laporta is a better tight end.
Yeah.
The offensive line is better, definitely better than what he had in LA. And,
Yeah.
Penny Sewell at right tackle is ridiculous. Taylor Decker left. But then the defense, Aiden Hutchinson, which I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald level, but he's extremely good. You have Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone, who's playing lights out of middle linebacker. You have Tracy Walker and some of these other guys that, they're legit players. And I'm interested to see what this team can do as it gets into the tougher months. David Montgomery, as much as I hate him in fantasy, he's a legit pound the ball running back, and it's someone that can do a lot of damage against teams and when it gets cold out. So you keep going down a little bit more, and obviously Green Bay, Minnesota, Bears. I don't know that I'd see one of those teams creep into a wild card spot. So I'm going to say that's kind of done. NFC South's just dog poop. Saints, Falcons, Bucks. Any of these three teams can kind of get that. I'm not a big fan. I guess I'd say the Saints still. But the NFC West, and it's San Fran, and then it looks like the Seahawks can make something of this. Same thing with the Rams, that they could get in a playoff spot. So, but yeah, I mean, this is the AFC. The NFC is definitely more definitive in the best teams versus the AFC, where there's a little bit of muck. All right, so let's get to it quickly from last week's schedule, and then we'll get to the breakdown, and we're going to head out, only because I am at a remote location, and I'm worried about the internet here a little bit. But so week 6 in the books, you had Denver, Kansas City, KC getting the win, 19-8, ugly game on that Thursday night. Some of the good games, AJ, and I'll let you take it. What did interested you from last week's slate? What were the games that kind of stood out? Obviously, our Jets.
Yes, I'll say I think that was the game of the weekend.
Yeah,
Philly.
It was actually right. It was portrayed as game of the week back when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, but it still was the game of the week.
Who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said before, right? That Jet defense, the way that they played was insane.
Awesome.
The amount of turnovers, sacks, it's really tough, right? Because it's if we just had Aaron Rodgers, this team could be
undefeated.
6-0,
yeah,
5-1, yeah,
undefeated.
I mean, as it is, we could be 5-1 if a few things go our way. So, I mean, it's just impressive. They keep this team in games. I thought Jalen Hurts didn't play the greatest. I mean, that interception that he threw, that kind of set up the Jets for that game-winning touchdown. Wasn't good. Wasn't a good pass. I'm kind of a little worried about him. He has not, I don't think, had a good season so far. Or
a little bit of a hangover.
To what we're expecting, right, of him. So I'm a little worried about that offense just because of him. Right, that the plays that he's made have been a little risky, and I know that they're 5-1, but he's got to clean up some things. I found it funny how all of Philly was kind of, I feel like, overreacting a little bit, right, when they lost, and it just fantastic to see. I mean, you're 5-1, right? You clean up some things, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. They still have a top, 5'10" quarterback. They have 2 ridiculous wide receivers. AJ Brown, ever since blowing his gasket on national television, not wanting to get the ball, has been really good. Devonta Smith has been a little now on the back burner, and I think you need to get both those guys going at the same time. Dallas Goedert's still a top tight end, even though he hasn't really been great this year too. But their offensive line's ridiculous. I just watched the Kelsey documentary actually, which was really good. I love Jason Kelsey, and he's the top center in the league, I still think, and he's a top lineman overall. Lane Johnson and the left tackle Jordan Mailata is ridiculous. The defense they have, and I know that Jalen Carter didn't play, but Philly's talking about their injuries. Did you see? The Jets injuries.
Yeah,
they had 3 guys come from the practice squad. Yeah, 3 of their starting 4 cornerbacks were out. Brandon Eccles too. They played with essentially Michael Carter II and then 3 practice squad guys. Their secondary played lights out, and I'm going to give them a lot of credit. And not just against Jalen Hurts did have a bad game, but that secondary did a lot. Contributed a lot of that being in the bad game. But the linebackers, Quincy Williams is awesome. And last year he was a big play and then a dud,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd miss tackles and he'd make that big monstrous hit. And you're like, the guy's this year he's been lights out. Mosley's been
He's been
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah.
Obviously Quinnen Williams is a wrecking ball in the center, and Bryce Huff. Give this guy a contract right now.
Yep.
Give him Lawson's money. Get Lawson out of here. Bryce Huff's real deal. He is electric on the edge and speed and just ferocious, never ending. And that strip sack he had was fantastic. And he had this obviously the one from the week prior versus Russell Wilson. The defense. I'm so pumped for the defense. And then I look at the other side and I'm like, Zach Wilson, and it just makes you want to bang your head against a wall.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously that's the 2017 win or 2014 win, just absolutely great. And I know people at the end real fast. We're talking about the touchdown with Breece Hall should have taken a knee. If you look at the clock and where they were and what was happening, it was better for them to get the touchdown at that time than try to eat some clock and then give it back to them. Because if they didn't get a first down, Philly still would have had time to come down and try to score a field goal to win the game. So they needed to get a touchdown. I think that was the best thing to do.
And the way the defense played too was lights out.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
So,
AJ, we watched Miami Carolina. Miami blows away Carolina 42-21, and it was crazy because Carolina was up 14-0, and then Miami scores 5 straight touchdowns, and you're like, well, that was never in doubt. But was there any other games that you were specifically looking at last week?
I mean, another defensive battle, right? Cleveland, San Francisco. Again, we already mentioned it, right? The Cleveland defense played fantastic. I think this was the first game of Purdy's young career, right, where he looked bad. He looked average.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know Debo got injured in that, and it was a rainy game and stuff like that. But I mean, that Cleveland defense was fantastic. I think San Fran just one of those games, right? In the NFL, any team can beat any team, and that Cleveland defense played well and held that offense. I mean, if you're San Francisco, right, you're just on to the next week kind of thing.
I did also like quickly, Cincy, Seattle. I thought that was a pretty interesting game. Obviously, Cincy gets the win, 17-13. Yeah, 17-13. You had a couple duds in there. Minnesota, Chicago. You had Washington, Atlanta. Baltimore beats Tennessee. We kind of expected that in jolly old England. Jacksonville, Indianapolis was interesting for a little while there, and then Jacksonville being the team they are, and Travis Etienne is a monster. But Gardner Minshew looks pretty good in that quarterback role, especially with now Anthony Richardson out long term. Looks like for the season too, of course.
Yeah, looks like he's going to get season-ending surgery.
Season-ending surgery. It's terrible. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Facebook Live. Obviously, Marshall, Elizabeth, all talking. Marshall. Lastly, please end the Giants' season. It's a tough one. It really is. And then love me some Jared Goff this year. It's a lot of fun football, and what you're seeing this year with some of the play from top end quarterbacks, and not the ones you normally see, right? So that's good. All right, this week's slate, and then we'll get out of here. And then the Buffalo Giants game was just god awful. We're not going to even talk about it, but yeah, it was bad. All right, week 7, and you start off with the Jacksonville matchup today, New Orleans. 6 teams on bye, and unfortunately some of the good teams, right? Cincinnati, Dallas, New York. Obviously the Jets are off. Carolina, Houston, Tennessee. Some also bad teams, but a couple good games, I think. And I kind of obviously, we're thinking Detroit, Baltimore is a very good game, a good defense, and former MVP versus Detroit's up and coming offense. Pittsburgh, LA is actually not bad. The Rams, but LA Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, and then Miami at Philly. So 2 5-1 teams facing off each other. The in-division matchup between KC and Chargers, who always play each other well. It sucks too because San Fran, that Monday night game, San Fran, Minnesota, would have been good if you still had Justin Jefferson, because that's an elite matchup between some really good players. But anything else stands out, and then we'll just get to those 3 quickly. Washington Giants.
Just for our local viewers, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, those 425 and obviously the night game, those games are just fantastic. Yeah, I mean, just one of those things, right? With 6 teams on bye, the schedule's a little bit, I feel like, thinner, in that sense of some of the games are just eh. But I'm really looking forward to that 820 game. That Miami Philly game is going to be amazing. Watching that offense versus offense, right? It's whatever the over is, I would hammer that. And it's also going to be interesting too once A-Chain comes back. I think he comes back in week 8, right?
But 2 weeks, yeah.
It's just crazy how Miami has. I forget if we talked about this, in previous weeks. Like 4 or 5 of the top fastest times. Yeah, this season it's just ridiculous with Mostert, A-Chain, and Hill.
You know who the 5th is, right?
I don't. I don't think I do.
So the top 4, right, are A-Chain, Mostert, Waddle, and Tiger Hill. Number 5,
I didn't realize that.
Breece Hall.
Oh, okay. All right.
Breece Hall coming. He had that monster run, the 70-something yarder versus Denver, and it was the 5th fastest time in the league. He hit 5th fastest speed, I should say. He was like 20 point something miles per hour, off of a torn ACL from last year.
Yeah, I mean that's the impressive thing, and
electric.
I feel like we're gushing over Jets defense and player positions, but I mean it's great seeing him. It's great seeing him, come back from the ACL. So
it is. He's been great this year.
Yeah.
So right, Detroit at Baltimore, and you get to see what Jared Goff and the Lions can do, obviously without David Montgomery, but against a very good Baltimore defense. Doesn't matter if guys are hurt. Baltimore's defense is always a legit good play. And Zay Flowers and obviously Lamar Jackson are guys that you look at and they're electric, and you have running backs that just seem to come in and do their jobs. So I'm excited that 1:00 game. But yeah, like we said, LA Chargers at KC. LA having a dud last week, but they obviously seem to come to play every week or every time they see Kansas City on the schedule.
Yeah.
And it's an individual matchup. It's always tight, and they're going to score points in Arrowhead. I'm liking that game at 425. And then, like we said, Miami at Philly, take the over. Just electric players, speed all over the place. Good quarterback play, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
I have a question for you.
Got anything else?
If the Chargers don't make the playoffs this year, right, or don't make noise, right, in the playoffs, if they don't win a wild card game or whatever,
fired.
Right? Okay, because this
I
don't understand how this team
touchdown
is constantly just losing close games or just losing in terrible ways. Like, and Herbert didn't have a good game the other day. I don't think he
broken
had a couple
thumb,
of throws,
I guess.
Like
the broken thumb on his non-throwing hand has got to be tough, and we see the dislocated thumb for Justin Fields for Chicago. But yeah, he didn't have a good game, and a lot of people were saying maybe he's not the answer. You can trade him. I'll give him my first round pick for Justin Herbert right now. I'll give you the next 3 years. Yeah. Oh, easily. He's so talented. 6'6". He had a couple moves outside the pocket. He looked really good. This guy's absolutely fantastic. So I'm a big fan big fan of him and what he does with that team. They need to get healthy, and they need to stay healthy. You lose Mike Williams, Keenan Allen's always an injury risk. Obviously Eckler was out in the beginning of the year, and it just you can't win games like that. And then your defense. Brandon Staley's a defensive coach, and his defense seems to be the worst part about the team. So he's got to go, and I'm done with him. We need to see what we can get and what they can get in terms of a coach that can utilize this offense and get them going, because they're ruining what this kid has done in his first 4 years in the league, which is crazy. Garoppolo's not going to play against the Bears. Barkley. Doesn't want the Giants to trade him, but that's something that maybe they're going to do. And listen, if I'm the Giants and I'm going to get a first-round pick for Saquon Barkley,
you do that.
See you later, buddy. Yeah. And I know that hurts Giants fans, or some Giants fans. I know some really don't care about the running back. They wish they never had taken him to begin with so high. But still, he's an electric player, and it sucks to lose a talent like that. Watson, throwing in practice, and we'll see if he plays on Sunday. Panthers are looking to make some trades too. They stink, and they're also. I mean, it's crazy. Now they're looking for a wide receiver when they had a wide receiver in the building, DJ Moore, and they traded him for a first-round pick. So, it was your second-round pick. Sorry. And then, did you see this thing that about Patrick Mahomes acting as like a backup punter? That he's been punting in practice just in case or something?
I saw the Jahan Dotson was going to be was practicing as a kick the holder for kicking.
Yeah, the holder. Yeah, I guess it's maybe just crazy NFL week where just different guys are trying different things and the media's picking it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. All right, we're gonna get out of here. AJ, let's hear some trivia and we'll get out of here.
All right, so Christian McCaffrey, right? Even though his team lost last week to the Browns, he still continued his streak of 15 straight games scoring a touchdown. That's tied for the longest such streak in NFL history, including playoffs. So who is that player that he is tied with for 15 consecutive games with a scrimmage touchdown?
I did see this, and now I'm blanking on that. Was it Lynn Dawson?
It was not. Do you want me to give it to you?
It was a wide receiver, right?
It was
an older guy.
Sorry, I wouldn't. I'd say he's more of a wingback. John Wiggins in the 1980s.
Oh, it was the Redskins. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I had seen that, and I was looking for it because I figured that might be a good trivia question from you. But I blanked on the name. Yeah, what was Lynn Dawson was what we talked about last week with the what was the question you had last week with yards?
Oh, most was it 150? Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it Len Dawson and Calvin Johnson?
It was Calvin Johnson, Jerry Rice, and it wasn't Len Dawson. It was.
It was the Charger, the former Charger.
Yep. The deer.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, that's right. I forgot his name. Yeah, but anyways, good. That's a good Christian. I like that one.
Yep.
All right. We'll be back next week. Week 8 and the week 7 and going to be in the books. Coming up on week 8, craziness.
Crazy.
And it's I gotta love football. It's just every week something good happens, and come back and you get to talk and have fun. But for AJ and for Brett on after his terrible viewing pleasure this weekend. This is Football Primetime.